ZGF sort of went for this job at the end of 2020, so I think it was around October was when we were awarded. And then it was a pretty swift design process that we went through. We did the typical, SD, DD, CD phases, and then we eventually went into permit at the end of 22, got the permit around 2023, and started construction right away. Since construction started, the delivery for phase 1 was 18 months from start to finish, and then we have another 5 months until the rest of the building is completed, including the space that we're standing in right now. And as they mentioned before, we did get C of O early, which is usually not common, especially in this market. So we got the first C of O in the first phase done about 1 week early, but it also included 3 additional floors delivered to the client. And then we think that we're going to finish the rest of the tower close to a month early. It was just a great success working with the HIT team, working with Red Brick, making quick decisions as construction went on. And for the most part, it was a pretty smooth process. Right now, all the mechanical systems are undergoing commissioning and advanced commissioning. Rachel will talk about that a little bit later, but it's part of our LEED Platinum requirements, getting that advanced commissioning completed. And some of the facade is undergoing testing right now too. We wanted to make sure we delivered a building to the client that maximized the uniqueness of the site, which is the views, right? There's not many buildings on this side with Ward 8 at this height that have these unobstructed views of all of downtown. It's probably one of the only buildings that you're going to see the Capitol and the monument in the same view, and totally unobstructed. And not to mention the beautiful Douglas Bridge that was just built last year. As a result of that, you see the massing of the building ended up having some carve-outs around the edges, which also created an opportunity to have 5 unique terraces on level 2 with different microclimates and different offerings and extended amenities for the building. It literally doubled the amount of amenity space that we can offer. And part of that massing was able to separate the building into 3 distinct towers. Part of that was taking the massing and ensuring that the streetscape was broken down across the 400 feet that we're taking up. And you can see that we have one set of finishes on the West Tower, which is Stratos. That tower is the premium offering for residents. The center tower is the red one, which is right under us right now. This one's called Poplar House. This is a short-term rental tower for the time being, but also considered market rate. And then we have the Alula, which is the orange tower that you're seeing over to the east. And that one is a fully market rate unit. The facade is made up primarily of 3 different terracotta facades. And it was very economical. We basically kept the terracotta facades at standard sizes, standard patterns, except for the premium tower. That is a unique extrusion that we designed specifically for this building. Otherwise, everything is from NBK. Through their standard offerings, essentially, we're able to keep that cost all very down. So we're getting like a premier, pretty luxury facade at a very low cost. So we ended up with about 87 unique unit types in this building. It's 757 units total.
This building has very high sustainability goals, including Living Future Zero Carbon certification, as well as LEED Platinum. And so one huge aspect of the sustainability of this building is the reduction in embodied carbon from concrete. And so this area, before the Amazon HQ2 towers were built, this area had never really delved into low carbon concrete. It was kind of new to the area, and that project kind of set a precedent for us. And they kind of familiarized concrete suppliers to the process and the materials in order to do that. And so when we did this project, we built upon the processes and the strategies that we used on Amazon HQ2, and we improved on those here. So the way that we did that was to replace cement, which is super high and in embodied carbon intensity, and replace some of it with a byproduct from the steel industry called slag. We also had an on-site batch plant, which meant that all of the mixes on the project were mixed right next door, and so all that transportation embodied carbon was greatly reduced. That accounted for about a 5% additional embodied carbon reduction for concrete. The replacement of cement with slag depended on the schedule and what the job site needed to get done faster or slower. So there was an opportunity in the foundations to have a higher percentage of slag because the schedule was a little bit more flexible. And then the elevated slabs that are PT, which means post-tensioned, they had to be stripped in 3 days. And so that was a really quick turnaround. So they couldn't extend the schedule for those. They actually had to shorten it. So that replacement of slag ended up being only 15%. So it varied widely across mixes, and in our specifications, we provided that flexibility. So all we asked for was a weighted average reduction for the whole building. So we called for 20%, and we ended up with a lot more than that. And it provided some flexibility for the contractor to meet that goal, but also keep on schedule. As part of our LEED goal, LEED Platinum, one of the credits focuses on material transparency. And so we wanted as many products as possible to provide environmental product disclosures, which means that they tell you how much embodied carbon it takes to create that material. And so we had 76 permanently installed products which provided EPDs to us. And then we also had something like 80 materials that provided material ingredient disclosures, which means they told us everything that's in their material, including all the chemicals. And so I think that really drove the region forward in terms of sustainable materials and transparency. And the fact that this building was so large, it was a catalyst for a lot more change because it was enticing for manufacturers to pursue this job. And so I think they were more willing to create this kind of documentation for us. I think it'll just propel the region further into a low carbon concrete, especially DC is a concrete town. So the more reductions in concrete in this town we can make, the better. And I think it just sets the stage for other suppliers that maybe don't have as much experience to learn from us and use it on their next project.